Hi, and welcome to Occupy Ukiah for August 31st, 2012. This is show number 19, and we're going to be mainly showing the presentation by Mr. Yastel Yamada that I told you about in previous shows. We haven't done any new shows in a while. We've been having all kinds of comings and goings in our Ukiah group, and things are happening. So we're doing this show because it's a very important one, and I'm going to continue with the nuclear issue. And like I said, I'm not going to give up on this issue because the radiation is not going to go away, and I'm not either. We really have to get it on this one. It's very important. You're going to see things on this show that you're not going to see on any other show today. You won't see this on any news channel. You won't see it hardly online. We're going to be putting it up online. But this is going to be some really, really wonderful, difficult to swallow stuff from Mr. Yamada. Right off, let's do a little update on what's going on with Occupy Ukiah. And as you can see, my dog Peaches is back. And she's not going to go away until we give away this bag, this Chico bag that has $20 of free farmers market bucks in it. You can use it at the Fort Bragg Farmers Market, the Ukiah Farmers Market, Gualala, Redwood Valley. It's got these little wooden coins in there, plus the bag that opens up to be a big produce bag. Free. All you have to do is come to our GA, our General Assembly, Saturdays at 10 o'clock, Alex Thomas Park. Show up, say the word, localize, and you will receive this free bag of $20 worth of farmers market bucks. Or come to our direct action meeting on Sunday at 11 at the MEC in Ukiah on Stanley Street, KMEC. It's Mendocino Environmental Center, and say the word localize, and you will receive this free bag. I'm trying to give this away, folks. I've been saying this for weeks. Just come to one of our meetings and it's yours. And then Peaches will have to just sit at home. It's kind of nice to have her on camera, but we really want to give this away because I really want to know that there's a connection between our show and the audience and our meetings out in the outside. Okay, and why do we want to buy localize? I saw a great bumper sticker the other day that said, buy local or bye-bye local. And that's really, really true. If you want your local businesses, your local farmers and all that to survive, you got to support them. So it's the least we can do. Okay, I'm going to put Peaches down for a little bit. She's going to sit down here, and we're going to get into the show. What's going on with Occupy Ukiah these days is we're going through kind of a difficult time of transition. We've lost several people who have been very integral players. Tom Ray has had to go back to Pennsylvania because he's having some pretty serious health issues, and he was unable to get onto Medi-Cal anytime soon. So he had to go back to Pennsylvania to deal with his health. And he was the guy who was uploading all of our shows onto the internet. He was handling our website. He was making all our posters and leaflets. He's quite the media expert. He's very good with computers. Tom Ray's right now out of the picture, and all we can do is hope that he just gets better because we want to see Tom better. We do miss him. We would love to have him back working with Occupy Ukiah again, but number one, Tom, I really hope you can get better. That's the main thing. We really miss Tom. So we are looking for somebody or somebodies who's really good with websites, who's really good with the computer, the internet, and we're looking for people who are good with making leaflets and posters and things that we use for handouts, compiling that information into a nice, attractive poster. If you have any interest in this area and you're watching this show, come to our GA on Saturdays at 10 o'clock, Alex Thomas Park. Come to our DA, the Direct Action Meeting, at the MEC at 11 a.m. on Sundays, or call me at 707-367-2194. Just give me a call. Tell me you want to get involved. We'll see what we can do. Also, Diane Durham is moving to Oakland. She's been a major central figure in Occupy Ukiah. She's been a very central organizer, has put a lot of planning together in many of our actions, and has also been involved with the Ukiah Aware group, which is going to still continue without her. And she also was just really a wonderful note taker and always got our notes right up online straight away after our meetings. We're really going to miss Diane just because she's such an awesome human and because of the wonderful work she did. So we really wish her well in Oakland, and I hope that she gets involved in some good things down there. They're getting a great person. And we're also losing Greg Simsek, who was our man in the booth, who we're going to really miss because he's been the guy who's done all these shows, and he was out for a little while, and we had Alex Bergdahl helping in the booth, who did a great job. We're just going to really miss Greg because he's such an awesome guy also, and he's so dedicated to Occupy Ukiah, and he's so dedicated to the work. The video, he's the guy when we go out and shoot any live footage, he's the guy who does a really great job doing that. And tonight we'll be showing this video of Yastel Yamada here in Ukiah at the Methodist Church. Greg shot the whole thing and did really a fine job of that. We're really going to miss Greg. He's going over to Sacramento, and maybe we can get something going over there, and maybe we can do some shows with the Occupy Sacramento. So I'm really hoping we haven't seen the last of Greg. Nonetheless, we have to move on. So we are looking for people who want to get involved. This is your Occupy group. This group is for the public to do political action, social action, however you want to call it, here in our community, and try to affect things nationally and globally. That's the least we can do in our world. You don't have to do it every day. You don't even have to do it every week. We just want people who are involved and will follow through, who will say they'll take on a project and follow it through. So really, if you have any interest at all, any skills, if you know somebody who does, please get in touch with us, because the people who are leaving are only leaving because they're getting better jobs and it's a monetary thing. It's not because they don't want to do the work. So what we want is more people to fill their shoes. It's like somebody graduating off the team in college. You've got to have the freshmen and the sophomores and the juniors step up when the seniors graduate. So that's what's going on. We need to replace people, and we need to increase our ranks. We've got a lot of work to do in this world. You look at any aspect of life today, from transportation to food to economics to unemployment to medical, health care, to the nuclear issue that I'm on a lot. Everything that you look at today needs to be reworked. We need to put it back together and have it be more sustainable, because we are now living in an unsustainable system. Everything that we are involved with in America and the Western culture today is so based on oil and technology that's unsustainable. That's a big order. We got to roll up our sleeves and get going. So let's roll up our sleeves and get going. And what we've got is the Mr. Yamada video, but we've also got a really quick video. I've gotten involved. I'm now the Mendocino County representative for a group called Fukushima Response. This group believes that Fukushima is the most serious threat to our environment, to our economy, to our way of life, to our very existence on the planet. Fukushima is the greatest threat that is happening today. You are not hearing about it in the news. And Wall Street Journal, and we're going to talk about this next show, just published some big article that says, oh, what's everybody so excited about? They're overblowing how serious Fukushima is. You know, just calm down. That's what they want you to believe. That's Wall Street. Those are the big corporations that are on Wall Street. Those are the ones that that want to build the nuclear reactors here in Georgia. Of course they think that we're overdoing it. Well, you're going to see in this little video right here, and then supporting evidence from Mr. Yamada, how serious Fukushima is and what does it mean to us in this world today. So, Fukushima Response just made this video, and we're going to be doing public education. We're going to be doing some actions. It's a new group that's forming in Northern California and across the country. Mr. Yamada actually was sponsored by Fukushima Response. So I'm very excited to be getting involved with them. We're going to be working hand in hand, Occupy Ukiah and Fukushima Response. And this is a nice little 3-minute video that'll just give basic information about Fukushima. And believe me, it is no better today than it was a year and a half ago when it happened. In fact, in some ways, it's worse. So let's go to this video. We'll go to the blue screen, and here we go.
The accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant occurred in March of 2011, yet the truth surrounding this profoundly man-made disaster has just barely begun to surface in the mainstream media.
It's still a ticking time bomb. If they have another aftershock, and they're not in cold shutdown yet till next year, the accident could start all over again. In the last 2 weeks, everything we knew about that accident has been turned upside down. We were told 3 partial meltdowns, don't worry about it. Now we know it was 100% core melt in all 3 reactors. Radiation, minimal, that was released. Now we know it was comparable to the radiation at Chernobyl. And as far as evacuation, yeah, 12 miles, that's it. You don't have to evacuate beyond 12 miles. Now they find hotspots, 4 hotspots outside the evacuation zone. 34,000 school children now have radiation badges when they go to school.
Kindergartners with radiation badges.
Down to 4 years of age. Can you imagine that? Kindergarten kids with radiation badges going to school.
Huge amounts of radiation escaped. About 3 times more than Chernobyl. And they were lucky because the wind was blowing from west to east across the Pacific. In Seattle, the ambient levels of radiation went up 40,000 times above normal. You got a fair fallout here. Vancouver did. The Cascades were littered with radiation, and in fact fallout fell right across America. Not huge amounts, but it did in Seattle.
It's very clear that there are substantial health questions that have to be addressed now. I'm particularly concerned about Unit 4. There are these 6 reactors. If, for example, you had an earthquake or a tsunami hit those particular pools, those pools could rupture. That could mean that the fuel rods could catch fire, melt down, and you'd have radiation in the air that would be a huge challenge to control.
The Japanese public has been demonstrating in the streets of Tokyo in massive numbers to let the world know that Fukushima is still in crisis. An international effort is urgently needed to address the ongoing nuclear disaster at Fukushima. What can you do to help? Stay informed. Tell your friends and spread the news by sharing this video. Contact newspapers, churches, and elected officials on the urgent need for an international effort to address this ongoing crisis. Fukushima, it's our problem now.
So there you have it. That really strikes home for me. Seattle is my hometown. Seattle is where I grew up. I have family and friends and just a beautiful landscape that I love there. It received 40,000 times the normal reading of radiation after Fukushima. Did anybody talk about it? No. That was Dr. Helen Caldicott, and believe me, well, believe her. If she says it, it's true. That woman does not lie. She has been a nuclear activist since the 70s. She's a physician, she's a pediatrician. She gets her facts straight, and all she does is travel around the world and give out the truth about the nuclear industry that they don't want you to know. So that could have happened here, and now Seattle's been polluted. Nobody's talking about it. Fukushima is in very, very serious straits. Nobody's talking about it. Well, this Mr. Yamada is an engineer. He's retired. He is volunteering to do some of the very serious radiation cleanup at some of the sites at Fukushima. As you'll see in the video, units 1, 2, and 3 have all melted down. And that's what you heard in the video before this one with Michio Kaku saying. All 3 of those, 1, 2, and 3, full meltdown. Number 4 was shut down when the earthquake hit, but it's got fuel sitting up 6 stories in the air in a pool that if there's any kind of a tsunami or earthquake or big event that happens and that is exposed to the air, it'll be 10 times what Chernobyl released. And the winds will carry that through the atmosphere, whichever direction the wind happens to be blowing. And it will never go away in our environment. That's the important thing, is once it's released, there's no putting it back. So every time there's a spill or a release or a little release, we have 400 reactors around the planet, 104 in this country. Every time there's a release of radiation, there's no putting it back. It just continues to pollute the pool, pollute our gene pool, pollute our water, our air, our soil, our food, our children, our animals, our plants. Everything is affected by this. So, let's go right to Mr. Yamada. Now, he's not easy to understand. He speaks very good English for a Japanese man. A lot of people said they had a hard time understanding him, so I've got subtitles that I'm going to be scrolling below the video. You're not going to see this anywhere else. This is going to be unique, fairly dry information. He's an engineer. This is a presentation that he would give to other engineers. So hang in there because this is really worth paying attention to, and I'll break in sometime and maybe we can talk about what we're looking at. But let's get right to it. This is Mr. Yastel Yamada speaking at the Methodist Church in July. Okay, here we go. Go to the blue screen.
Now today I'd like to talk entitled Facts and Tasks at Fukushima Daiichi. The reason why I say facts is that there are so many informations overloaded. You must be overloaded, and there are so many confusions and so many independent or scattered facts. But we have to have the overview. What is the real source or real problem at the site? This is my first point to talk today. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. This is the Unit 4 building, which you have had the serious problem there. But now you see that some people are working on the floor. It means that this building is not very much contaminated than other furnace units. Now, this photograph shows the removal of the damaged crane, and now they are constructing the overhang new structure to take out the spent fuel from the pool. Unit 4 contains, say, 1535 spent fuel units, but the building has been already reinforced after the earthquake. I was entered in this building just July. It means that this contamination level is much less than other units. And if you see the Unit 3, this photo is taken last autumn. Damage is very serious, and then contamination inside of the building is much more serious than Unit 4. For example, I would say the contamination level in Unit 1 is 25 to 13,000 millisievert per hour, and Unit 2 is 5 to 73,000 millisievert per hour, and Unit 4 is much, much less. In that sense, therefore, the Unit 1, 2, and 3, those buildings are not reinforced. Therefore, if you had strong earthquake, the breakage can take place much easier in Units 1, 2, and 3. Of course, the number of the spent fuel in those units are much less than Unit 4, but the amount is enough to make the crisis. Now, this, what you see, just pile of stone, this is the present seawall, having the height of the 5 meter on the ground of 10 meter over sea. And this is clearly temporary seawall, but TEPCO doesn't have the plan to install the permanent seawall in their mid-term and long-term plan. Means for 40, 50 years, they may use this seawall. Do you see that? This seawall can endure tsunami? It's incredible. See, this is the hose conducting the cooling water to the furnace, from the furnace, and removing the cesium-137, and then return to the vessel again. But such a hose conduction is not allowed in a normal industrial plant. That's a common sense or rule. You can see that such a hose only at firefighting, not more. But there is no plan to change this hose to the steel pipe. Now this hose is running like this way. In total, more than 2.5 miles. Their permanent plan or future plan is to pump up the water within the building and cool and pour again in the furnace, in the vessel. But as I said, the contamination in Unit 1, 2, 3 are serious, and no one knows when this permanent pipe can be installed. As far as plan, written plan is concerned, it would be, say, 5 years later or something. But in the meantime, we have to use this, such a very seriously weak forces. Now, this is a simulation carried out by TEPCO. What happened in the vessel? Right side, you see that this is the final results of the reaction vessel in 3 Mile Island. You can see that the fuel has been damaged but remained in the reactor, reaction pressure vessel. But in case of Fukushima, the fuel has molten down and penetrated, eroded the concrete. And now TEPCO said that there is some room. And they say this depth is 65 centimeters, means say 25 inch, like that. But this is simulation. No one have seen inside. Therefore, the shape of the debris is not known. This is just an assumption. And temperature is measured, say, 4 or 5 points. But liability of the measured temperature is very bad because of the damage inside. And furthermore, cement concrete is not uniform material like as steel. It's a mixture of the stones, sand, and cement, so on. Therefore, the 65 centimeter must have the, say 100% error. Then, if so, the vessel bottom might be eroded or broken. Then, this is very important key point. I talk about how to remove the fuel debris from the vessel. And at least damage is there. This point, there is a very thin pipes because of the thermal expansion should be absorbed. Now I'm talking about the spent fuel removal. The reason why spent fuel should be removed is, of course, to avoid the crisis, but furthermore, to remove the fuel debris from the vessel, you have to have this space inside. At this moment, there is almost no space to take out debris and keep it in the pool. Therefore, spent fuel removal is very serious, important work in advance to the fuel removal. And spent fuel shall be inserted into the cask in the water. In the water is very important. Some days before, from Unit 4, 2 loads, fuel loads was taken out, but they were taken in the air. It means that they are not the spent fuel, but the new fuel. New fuel has almost no danger, means that no radioactive materials. But spent fuel has the strong radioactive material. Therefore, that should be handled within the water water must be the sealing material. Then this cask, having the weight more than 100 tons, will be picked up and loaded on the huge truck on the ground and transported to storage area. Now those cranes are broken already. Therefore, as you saw earlier, the old crane is removed out, and then new crane will be installed. It takes time. Now I'm talking about the debris removal. It's essential to fill the PCV vessel with water. As I said, that water can be the sealing material for the radiation. Therefore, the vessel shall be filled, and spent water pool, in the spent water pool, the fuel debris shall be, no, container here. Here is a spent pool. Inserted in container and transport out within the cask, also small casks. That is the expected planned work. But the first problem is that there is a water leaked from the vessel. Presently, the depth of the water here is, say, 10 inch or some, nothing more. Water must be leaked from here. And no one knows the upper part. There must be several damages, and mean that there are hundreds of the pipings inside and through the vessel. Therefore, several or hundreds of the damages must be there. Those should be repaired. And then, if it is filled, then the debris can be removed or expected to be removed. However, one more difficulty there, that in case of the 3 Mile Island, the 35% of the debris was powder. If you see the powder in the water could be dispersed in the water, and you cannot see the debris from the top. So it makes this work very serious. The length of this, or height of the vessel, is, say, 120 feet, 120 feet, very high. And if the powder debris dispersed, then the work is almost impossible. I don't know what would happen in the future.
I want to cut in here real quick and just I want to talk about what we were just listening to there. He's been going back and forth talking about units 1, 2, and 3, and then units 4. Now remember, unit 4 was shut down. So inside the reactor is not a problem, but they do have the stored fuel up on top. Now units 1, 2, and 3 were all powered up and generating electricity when the earthquake and tsunami hit. And they are so radioactive that what you saw here on the camera was, on the presentation, was a simulation of what TEPCO thinks is going on inside of units 1, 2, and 3. Now, because they know their equipment and they know the effects of things like earthquakes, they figure that there has to be lots of damage to the reactor vessel, which is supposed to remain filled with water, and these thin little pipes do this radiation transfer, which boils the water, which creates electricity. All they do is boil water in these things. So somehow they've got to get into these 3 buildings that have had full meltdowns and repair those vessels so that they can be filled with water, so that they can take that fuel out that's been melted down and get it the heck out of there and get it safely stored, which actually is also a misnomer. Now, the other problem is that they don't know what the state of the debris is in number 4, which has the stored fuel, because it's all clouded with powdery debris. So they can't tell what the situation is in there. So he said at the end there, if the powder is dispersed in the water, then the work is almost impossible. I don't know what would happen in the future. So here you have a situation where we've got the reactors boiling water, and you turn on the lights and making electricity, and you pay your bill, and everything works just fine. We're all happy. Suddenly we've had a huge disaster, and now all the best minds who are running this plant don't know what the hell to do. They don't know what to do. And from this engineer who knows very lot about how to do things, he says the work would be almost impossible. So these things work fine as long as there's no mistakes, as long as there's no human error, as long as there's no nature intervening, as long as there's no accident or problem. So we have to think about what we're doing here. We're trying to use a technology that demands absolute perfection. Okay, I'm going to have to pull back up to where we were. I got it off a little bit. Give me half a minute here. Let me see where we're at. Okay, we're going to have to pull it forward a little more. There we go. Okay, Greg, we can go back to the blue screen. Here we go.
And you cannot see the debris from the top. So it makes this work very serious. The length of this, or height of the vessel, is, say, 120 feet, 120 feet, very high. And if the powder debris dispersed, then the work is almost impossible. I don't know what would happen in the future. Now I'm talking about the fuel removal. This picture is not expected in your text you're having, but now in case of the 3 Mile Island, the accident has taken place in 1979, and fuel removal has started in 1984, 5 years later. But in case of the Fukushima Daiichi, at the first, leakage survey should be taking place. No one knows where the vessel is damaged. And then leakage or repairing should be done after survey. And then, say 10 years later from now, the debris removal will be started. That's the plan, present plan. It means that the difficulties of the clearing up in Fukushima Daiichi is much, much more than 3 Mile Island. Now, I'm talking about the radiation doses at 3 Mile Island too. Just after the accident, there was some explosion, and then some 3 or 4 years it decreases, but then again, during the fuel removal, you had a much more exposure. That's quite normal. Means that, as you can imagine, that the people, workers should work very close to the fuel. Now, we have to consider what will be in Fukushima. This is a TEPCO's estimation. They say they estimated only 5 years from now, and the required number of the workers they have calculated, and they say now, last year, they have needed such number of the workers, but now the future necessity is much less. But if we compare here, those periods is only this period. After 10 years, when the debris removal would be started, then the exposure to the radiation must be serious. But no one talk about that. Now I'm talking to our group, Skilled Veterans Corps for Fukushima. We skilled veterans be allowed to work at Fukushima Daiichi to reduce radiation doses for young workers. This is our very simple and understandable, I believe. Everyone can easily agree to this one, because that all the elder people has much less risk than the younger people having the same doses of radiation. Now, this proposal we have made started in April last year, and in May we had a meeting discussion with TEPCO and Minister in charge of the Mr. Hosono, Minister of the in charge of Fukushima Daiichi accident. And as a result of that meeting, we have visited, inspected the Fukushima Daiichi on site. I was included in the member. 5 members visited there and looked for what we can do. At that time, we expected that within a short period, say some months, that we will be able to work at the site. But passing 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, no action has been taken by TEPCO, by government. And finally, last year, the end of last year, we have strongly negotiated with government and TEPCO, including the subsidiary company. Government says that you are welcome, but as far as TEPCO accepts. And TEPCO says they have no room to accept SVCF members. What is that? There are 3,000 workers at the site every day, and why our members cannot be accepted? It's very strange, isn't it? And we have, say, at this moment, almost 700 members, and 1/3 of them are technicians, 1/3 of them are engineer or scientist, and another one-third of them are having no special skill, but can work in several logistics works and so on. Only 700. If you count this 3,000 every day, 700 is just a small portion. It should be very easily accepted. And we have discussed and surveyed several issues, and finally we have come to the conclusion, there are several reasons, but this is most key point. In Japan, it's quite normal structure, but this is the TEPCO now, Fukushima Daiichi. But there are 3-4 main prime contractors. You may know Hitachi, Toshiba, they have acquired the technology from GE and Westinghouse. And under them, there are so many subcontractors, including the subsidiary companies. And furthermore, they have subcontractors and so on. So there are 7 or 8 layers there in the subcontract. And actually, 400 contractors are involved in this work. You see, as I said, almost 3,000 people are working a day in 400 companies. Means that at the bottom part, there are only less than 10 people. And the workers or employees of TEPCO is only, say, some tens, 50 or 60, not more. And TEPCO gives instruction to the prime contractor, but never to subcontractors, or they have no right. There is no contract between TEPCO and subcontractor. Therefore, TEPCO has power to instruct the prime contractor. Therefore, if they accept SVCF members, then they have to include in those workers, employees of TEPCO, say 50, 60. How they can accept such 100 of our members? And they cannot control those people. That is the serious problem. And in addition to that, I have to introduce you that the TEPCO pays, of course, for each worker per head, say $200 per day or more, sometimes more, or most probably $300 per day. But at the bottom, they get sometimes less than half, $100, $150 per day. In between those subcontractors.
All right, I'd like to break in here really quick. So what we're seeing in here, I just want to make this point clear. He's been talking about the many, many levels of contractors and subcontractors, 8 levels, 3,000 people a day. It's a huge operation. It's the way they do things in Japan, where they have so many subcontractors and prime contractors and whatnot that basically nobody then, if there's any problems, will take responsibility for the problem because everybody's doing that little bit of work. But one of the things that really catches my eye here, and you'll hear later on that Fukushima Daiichi, for 50 years it has operated, and it has operated at a loss. They did not make a profit. They were solely dedicated to making electricity for the public at an affordable cost. They operated at a loss, and you'll hear this just in a little bit here. Now, for the cleanup, TEPCO is making a profit, and these companies are profiting off the cleanup. And you'll also hear a little bit later that it's even the mafia is involved, which is the Yakuza in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't matter what their name is. It is corrupt criminal activity, which really there's probably no difference between Hitachi and the Yakuza because they're all in it for the money. And so who are the people at the bottom level who are doing the dirtiest work, who are getting exposed to radiation, and what are they getting paid? $300 a day, $150 per day. He said sometimes even $100 per day to go in and do this work. Now actually, if you ask me, that's upside down. The people who are at the highest risk should be getting the profit. Nobody else should be making a profit. If you're going to risk your genes, your health, you could face the possibility of getting leukemia, any number of cancers, any number of radiation-related illnesses in the future, say 5 years, say 50 years down the road. Those people ought to be making the profit. The rest of them should not be. But that's just me saying that. I don't know if you would agree with me or disagree with me. I'm just throwing in my 2 cents about any time you have a system, if there's corruption involved, it's not going to go well. And he will point out, and he did earlier, that the way that TEPCO has it set up right now with all these many layers of subcontractors and whatnot, they're looking at 50 years to do the cleanup. Now, when you're doing the cleanup, all these buildings are not reinforced. 1, 2, and 3 are so hot they can't reinforce those buildings. So do you think there might be another big earthquake in 50 years? In 20 years? We can't say. There might be another tsunami. Who knows? Anyway, he said it's very inefficient, and he will point out later why, and he will also give some solutions about what should be done about it. Just think about if we had an accident of this magnitude here, say down at Diablo Canyon or down at San Onofre in the San Diego area, or even up in Eureka where they have stored fuel, how would you feel about asking your grandparents or your parents, the elders of our community who should be retired and enjoying life and playing with the grandkids and not working anymore, just relaxing in their final years of life? How would you feel about asking them to step in and risk their lives and risk their last years of health to help us clean up? Well, that's what Mr. Yamada is offering. It's a very brave offer. Okay, let's continue. Pay close attention. He's going to say some amazing things and skip right over them. And sometimes I know it's hard to understand him, but I'm doing my best to give you a translation here. So let's keep going.
Fix the profit, get the money. This is the very strange, for you, very strange structure, but it's quite popular, normal or in Japan, only in Japan. But as I said, there, the money is there, and sometimes mafia included. And if we want to break this structure, that something happens in the society or community or any places. Therefore, no one wants to touch this part. And we have decided to disclose this issue worldwide and make the chance to break the structure. Otherwise, one is that the money, but if you consider that Fukushima Daiichi, the exposure to radiation is a serious problem, and how to allocate the people, the workers, to the most suitable place to work is very essential. We have to consider the past doses and ages, experiences, skills, knowledge, and so on, and to allocate those 3,000 people most suitably. Otherwise, our cleanup work takes 50 years, and we must have the serious problem of the shortage of the worker. Therefore, or in other words, without breaking that multi-layered subcontract system, we cannot be successful to clean up the Fukushima Daiichi. So I'm talking, and this is some summary of my talk up to now. The SBCF requested cleanup of Fukushima Daiichi, offering skills, knowledge, mass works, surveys, etc. Any job. But there are so many obstacles. Industrial structure, this I talked a lot. This is serious. Furthermore, political behavior is that government, there are so many ministers. Bureaucracy is very much separated, and government orders the ministry, then ministry ordered the TEPCO, and TEPCO says, right, as if I consider the sea wall, I have not explained that, but I talked with the METI, what is that? Then METI people said that TEPCO is calculated, it's safe. Then the METI reports to the minister, this is safe. That is the structure, political behavior and industrial relation. And multi-layered subcontract makes the profit-sharing structure actually. Those should be broken. Otherwise, we cannot realize our request. Now, to materialize this, we are proposing those points. The project to clean up Fukushima Daiichi is the work inside TEPCO. Can you imagine that TEPCO is profit targeted to make the profit, and Fukushima Daiichi never make any profit, only the loss for 50 years. Why TEPCO can pour their power to Fukushima Daiichi? We have to make this Fukushima Daiichi as the national project independent from TEPCO. That's the most important point. And furthermore, we have to employ the worldwide expertise, meaning that, as you know, in case of 3 Mile Island, they have accepted several specialists, including from Japan. But now, in Japan, in Fukushima's case, only research and development portion are asking. They're asking the support from other countries. But at the site, the only TEPCO works independently. And third is project management. I'll discuss later some detail. And fourth is international inspection team. It means that the international means that very independent from any organization, any people, and so on. I'll discuss one by one. Now, it's quite clear, I believe. And profit-oriented company doesn't have the capabilities to deal with such a project. That's very clear. Further, at this moment, the project cannot be opened and clear due to TEPCO's own interest, because TEPCO has their own interest in the field of the power generation, power delivery, and so on. It's very completely different issue than Fukushima Daiichi. Therefore, such TEPCO's headquarters intention should be avoided. Now, project team shall employ the capabilities, knowledge, experiences from all over the world. Now, very important thing is that Fukushima Daiichi is more complex than Chernobyl and much larger than 3 Mile Island. Means Chernobyl is, as far as the radiation material disposal is concerned, it's much bigger. But that furnace was completely broken and nothing to do. Therefore, their task was just to cover the furnace unit. But in case of Fukushima Daiichi, we have to continue the cooling for 10 years, 20 years. That's much more difficult. We cannot cover the Fukushima Daiichi. And second is, this is again very important, that many people consider that nuclear specialist is important, but if you see the cooling, the fuel, where is the nuclear specialist is necessary? There are so many works to be done by other engineers. Therefore, we have to employ the very complex structure of the engineers. And also, however, the TEPCO's people, employees or workers are very essential. They know the site well. And include Hitachi, Toshiba, and other engineers, and also Bechtel, Flower, TechCheck. Those project management capability is very essential. I'll talk about the project management. Integrated project management, including progress, quality, cost, and radiation exposure control, shall be applied. As I said, under the structure of the multi-subcontract system, such a integrated project management is impossible. The TEPCO can instruct only the prime contractor how TEPCO can control the site work. And also, TEPCO is the operation company. It's very much different from construction job. Construction job needs day by day different activities, but operation company should work as day by day in the same way. That's a very much completely different structure. Therefore, we have to use the technique or technology for the project management. It's a very, very, very important. And multi-subcontracting system should be broken. And optimum allocation of the workers is very essential. Then SVCF members will be able to accept it. Furthermore, independent inspection team shall be free to check safety, progress, etc., to minimize the risk of the accident and minimize cost and time. During those days, as you know, there are so many discussions about need for and so on. It means that no one knows the fact. Actually, TEPCO discloses many information, but every month they release, say, such a thick report. Who can read that? And in a website, you can find so many photographs, data, so on, but it is very hard to access, and only a few persons could access that. Therefore, the newspaper, radio, or TV cannot read and understand the content. Therefore, we have to have such inspection team who can see the necessary point as at the time of necessity. That should be established. Now, lastly, I'd like to ask you that to speak out our request and move your government to push the Japanese government. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Japanese government are not very sensitive to the Japanese people's opinion, but very sensitive to the US government. Therefore, I strongly ask you to make the voice to the government or media to spread our requests. Thank you very much for my listening to my speech. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there you have it. A couple of really clear points that he makes there. This is such an incredibly serious situation, and why should TEPCO be running it when they're in it for the profit? Why should these companies be running it when they're in it for the profit? It should be run by an international team that has no interest other than getting it cleaned up. And this information can also be supported by letters that I previously put out on this show, and we may revisit those again sometime in the future. 72 non-government organizations in Japan sent an urgent letter to the United Nations in the spring of this year, 2012, urging the United Nations to hold a nuclear summit to gather all the best minds and engineers, nuclear minds and engineers and scientists in the world to help Japan with this very serious situation. And then a former Japanese ambassador to Switzerland, I believe it is. And I will bring that up again, and I showed that on the show a couple shows ago. Said the very same thing. He wrote a letter to Ban Ki-moon, the head of the United Nations, and said the government's not being honest about what's going on. We really, really, really need to have an international summit to have the best minds in the world to help clean this up, because if there is a collapse of Unit 4 with all that spent fuel sitting up 100 feet in the air, or if there's another problem that breaks these other 3 units, it will become a planetary issue. It already is, and it is no longer their problem. As you saw in the little video there, Fukushima is our problem. Nobody's talking about it, but we are, and we're going to continue talking about it. So I understand that Occupy did not start out being a nuclear issue proponent. And I've been a nuclear activist at times in my life, and I had a feeling I was going to get active again. After Fukushima, something kept nudging me, saying, it's time. People have to see. We can't continue having these boo-boos every 25 years. Chernobyl is not over. And I'm going to have another show on with Mariah Gallardon of TUC Radio, and we're going to talk about the effects of Chernobyl. Chernobyl's not over either. You can't just make this stuff go away. These radioactive isotopes never existed on this planet until human beings played with splitting the atom and released them into our environment. And now we are spreading them all over our planet, which is going to change things drastically. And we have to say, enough is too much. Stop already. Let's go solar. The best nuclear reactor in the world, the best nuclear reactor that we know of, is 93 million miles away from us. That's the sun. And you can even get a sunburn from that, can't you? But we can use all that solar energy, put it up on our roofs, declare war on unsustainable energy, put our armies to work installing solar and geothermal and renewable resources all around our country, and then spread it around the world. Let's wise up. We're very clever, we're very smart. We can show things on TV, we can show things on the computer, we can split the atom, we can do amazing technological things, but we haven't gained the wisdom to do the right thing with our scientific cleverness. So I would say let's get wise. Let's wise up, folks. So I'm really going to urge everybody to join in. Do what you can. We're going to do all we can to try to remedy this situation that's threatening not just us, but our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren for many, many generations. We're talking tens of thousands of years, 500,000 years. Some of these isotopes are deadly. 500,000 years. Okay, well, show number 19 is coming to a close, and once again, I want to thank Greg Simcik. We're really going to miss him, but Greg has gotten a better job. He's got he's got great benefits, and he is now going to join the 1%. He's going to join the 1% of occupiers who have jobs with benefits. Jobs with paid vacations. I really envy him. So I would probably do the same, and we're sorry to see him go, but we definitely just want to say thank you, Greg, and we'll see you again in the future. And so for now, we're going to close the show. Don't forget, come to our GA and say localize, and you will get this bag of $20 worth of market bucks. And for August 31st, 2012, this is Charlie Vaughn and Greg Simcik signing off. We'll see you around town.